How's it going, everybody? Maxwell McGee here in New York City, and today I'm checking out The Darkness 2, in particular, the new Vendetta multiplayer mode that they just announced. It's a 4-player cooperative mission-based mode, but before we jump into that, I want to give you guys a tour of this museum of antiquity they set us up in. It's pretty rad. Let's check it out.
During our announce, we had our announce in New York too, and we were talking about like the next big thing, and our events guys at 2K, we were like, so Jackie's the Don now, rich, lush, rich, incredible money, got to be in New York because he's in Manhattan, so maybe lower Manhattan if we can. And can we fill it with ancient-looking artifacts that seem like they could be containing evil, darkness, essence, magical power? And go.
One of the hubs in the single-player game is Jackie's penthouse mansion, which is just an amazing place. And when we looked at this place, we saw all the relics, like all the antiques that were on the wall. Through the game, we have a collectible system. They're called relics. When you find a relic, you get more essence, and Jackie actually displays them. When you find them, they're displayed in his relic case. And we kind of wanted to have that same feel. Even though this is an event that's showing off Vendettas, it kind of has some of the elements that that we loved and that we wanted to have in the single-player game. So this location, came to mind.
What is this? I feel like I'm told it's a Chinese ceremonial marriage bed. I'm not sure if that's right. That's what somebody told me. And it's in a room with all these other... I'm sitting on a strange stool thing. That chair is made out of tusks. I'm not sure how that works. But like the whole place is fantastic. Everywhere you look around, you're like, oh, this place is eclectically crazy. But it fits the darkness theme. We were aiming for evil, amazingly rich-looking darkness artifacts, and dude, our guys have nailed it. This place is cool. we had a pretty long pre-production for the Darkness 2, which is good. It lets you hash out all the possibilities for the ways that you want the game to go, and it lets you sit there thinking big thoughts until you find the right big thought. And early in pre-production, we said, in service of story, big pillar. And we want to play with other people in some way.
We looked at the multiplayer and we said, what do we want to do with that spin on it? And for us, we thought that, it was more important for us to tell a story. And tell a story in Darkness 2, it's not about competitive. It's about, being unique characters, getting a story that ties into the single player. And so that's how kind of Vendettas was born.
Vendettas is a co-op narrative experience that features an exclusive campaign that parallels the event of the single-player one, and you get to play through it either by yourself or with friends as 4 new characters that were created especially for this mode.
The game can be played offline, but only solo. If you want to do cooperative, you have to go online. But Vendettas as a game, it's not a split-screen experience. It's full-screen experience.
We support drop-in co-op at any point. I'm the host and you're the client. And we play this way up to mission 5, and we both quit, and now you play. You have in hit list, which is another mode, all of the missions we clear together available, but your campaign progress is your own. So as a host in your own campaign, you would start from mission 1. So as a client, you can play with anybody's mission progress without affecting your own campaign. And it doesn't check for your progress to make sure that we can matchmake anybody with anybody without regards to personal progress.
At the same time, almost all of Vendettas, you can play solo. If you are one of those people who has no friends and you just want to experience the game, and all of the narrative that you're getting with the Darkness 2, you can just pick one of the characters and you can go start to finish through almost everything. There's a few missions and hit list that require 2 players because there's a branching path in the level, and so those we require you to be playing with another person in co-op, but mostly you can experience it if you'd want to. You can start Vendettas as soon as you put in the game. It's like its own game in a lot of ways. So there's the beginning and middle and end of Vendetta's co-op campaign. There's a bunch of hit list missions in Vendettas that you can play, completely having never started the single-player campaign. At the same time, you can play through the whole single-player campaign, totally ignore Vendettas, if you would like.
Vendettas ties in really strongly with single-player. I mean, the very first mission that you guys played had the Vendetta's characters are around a poker table, and Vinny, who's Jackie's right-hand guy, coming and saying, "Hey, you need to go find this guy Johnny Powell," who's the narrator. And
the guy has a really great delivery on all his lines. He's very jittery, and he's also really present in Vendettas, but on top of him, all the characters that you play as and other characters you encounter, they have really special banter between each other, which makes it a lot more lighthearted. It doesn't take itself as seriously, so you can really jump in with your friends and have a good time just getting really violent.
So in the single player, after the first mission where Jackie releases the darkness, his first thought is to get Johnny Powell, because Johnny Powell is the person that helped him suppress the darkness 2 years ago. So in the game, in the single player game, he goes right up to Vinny. He's like, "Vinny, I need you to go and get Johnny Powell." And he said, "Well, how are we going to find him?" And he said, "Hey, get the new guys together, get that crew together that I formed, and get them to go do it." So that's like the first opening tie-in between the two campaigns, and all the way through the campaigns, you're going to get more and more of that, where the events that the Vendetta's characters do in their campaign, you're going to see those events happen in the single player world, and vice versa.
The story of both becomes richer if you play the other. So we don't actually lock anything about Vendettas based upon your progress in single player. We don't lock anything in single player based upon your progress in Vendettas. You will appreciate single player more after you finish Vendettas, because you'll find out a lot of what happened kind of behind the scenes or in parallel to what Jackie was doing, and the same way vice versa. And I think you'll see when you play both the Darkness 2 single player and the Vendettas campaign how they interweave. And they interweave so strongly only because both of them have been growing up kind of as siblings simultaneously. They're twins, and that means that both are equally rich. It's like we're shipping 2 games in one box. For the Darkness 2 narrative, for the single player, what we really wanted to do was tell a really powerful story. Part of what you need to tell a really powerful story is to know what the player just did a second ago.
We definitely wanted to have a narrative-focused game. So that's what the Darkness 2 is. When you're playing through the game, you have a goal in mind. It's an urgent goal, and so it's something that you're always trying to do.
So you tackle an encounter of different size, different challenges with a friend or by yourself, and you move on to the next. So it's linear and it's heavily structured, but we built it that way to make sure that people wouldn't get lost and all go off in their own direction. We wanted players to really stick together.
In Darkness 1, you were kind of a low-level hitman. You have to take the subway to kind of get wherever you want to go. For Jackie in Darkness 2, he's got a limo driver. He's the Don. He can go wherever he wants to and kind of proceed however he wants to do it. So the structure is narrative-driven, but on top of that, you have hubs all the way through the game, and the hubs present different options for gameplay and give you more backstory on the world.
If you're taking somebody on an emotional journey, you don't want to have them running off the rails all the time. So we chose to make the single player campaign for the Darkness 2 relatively linear. Like in levels, there'll be ways that you can solve the level in different ways, but you're going to do the levels in the order that support the strong narrative that Paul Jenkins wrote, because that's what we feel is the best way for us to give you amazing combat and at the same time really an excellent story that you experience. Isn't told to you, it's not cutscenes. You experience the story as you go through the game. You do the things that lead to the trials and tribulations of Jackie. But you want to go non-linear, you're like, it's too much for me. I'm emotionally distraught. I need a moment of just blowing stuff up. Vendettas. You can roll right over to Vendettas, you play a hit list mission, it's 45 minutes of explosions and humor, and then you can go back to the single player narrative refreshed.
The 4 characters in Vendettas were basically designed from the ground up, so you would experience the Vendettas mode as 4 unique characters and not the ashes of characters from other comic books. We really wanted to create different chemistry between characters that tie back into basically that comedic loop.
There's incentive to kind of play through as a different character because you're going to get a whole new backstory and a kind of a whole new, and we call it a dark co-op comedy because there's a lot more comedic elements you're going to find with each of the characters. There's a lot of different unique abilities that they have. Jimmy having his axe, JP has his voodoo stick, Shoshana has the Arm of the Night, which is an amazing gun, and Inugami has Kusanagi, which is this cursed sword. So they'll have these darkness weapons, and those are the things that actually give them their darkness powers. So that's one side of it. And then they each have their own talent tree, which you can build and kind of expand on as you're playing through the mode. And each of those things are based along the size of which powers they have. So they each have unique powers that they share in common with Jackie, but level up differently. Progression in Darkness 2 is all based around essence. Depending on how you kill, you get more essence, and when you eat the hearts of enemies, you get essence, and when you collect relics. So those are 3 different things that you can collect. You funnel those in through talent shrines that you find in the world. And Jackie's tree is pretty big. He's got something that focuses on powers, so the swarm and gun channeling powers, they have their own progression. There's down the demon arm tree, which lets you do really crazy and different things with the demon arms depending on how you decide to spend your essence points. There's also, for the type of player that just loves guns, there's ways that you can kind of enhance your guns and use your guns with the essence that you've spent. And then there's also executions, and the different types of executions that you can unlock and their gameplay benefits. So, an example is some of the high-end executions. When you kill a guy, or when you execute him, you actually bring back a darkness shield, which you can hold and it'll deflect bullets for you for a while, and you can toss it and cut that in half with it. So all of the dark essence that you collect will all, that's the way the player will progress.
The Darkness 2 comes out February 7th in the US and February 10th international. You can pre-order today for the same cost as the base product and get some extra talents that are available only in pre-order, and an alternate skin for the Darkling, the Crazy Abdul skin. The people who played the first game all the way through will remember who Crazy Abdul is. The Darkness 2 comes out for 360, PS3, and PC.